So about 3 months ago, I did a video called Where Call of Duty Zombies Began. That was kind of a retrospective, I guess you could call it, or a look back at the gameplay, the storyline, and the Easter eggs within Nectar and Toten. A month later, so 2 months ago, I then did a video about Kino der Toten. If you want to check either one of those out, I will link them down in the description. But I did say what I would do is go through each and every zombies map that we have had from Treyarch and take a look back at those 3 points: gameplay, Easter egg, and storyline. What makes each and every Call of Duty Zombies map the way it is, whether it be good or bad. Obviously, I'm not doing this in order, but the map this video is focused on is the second one we ever got way back in World at War, and that was Verruckt. And judging by the title of this video, you can probably tell what I think about this map, and to me, it is the scariest we have ever had. Nothing to this day, over 14 years later, has come close. But looking at the gameplay side, one of the best and also the most unique thing about Verruckt is the fact that if you play more than one player, so for example there is 4 of you, you will both be split off into 2 sections. This doesn't happen on any other map, it's totally unique to Verruckt. It adds an extra layer of difficulty because if 2 teammates on one side go down, then the other 2 stuck on the other side of the door can't revive them. It's essentially a race to turn on the power and reunite, but also what makes this different is there are different perks and weapons on each side as well. So on one side you have Juggernog and on the other you have Quick Revive. And yes, even though it doesn't take too long to turn on the power, obviously in this case for the perks it doesn't matter because you can only buy them once you've turned on the power, but wall weapons definitely comes into play. I would also say, in my opinion, the left side of the map is easier than the right side. I just found that area easier to train zombies. Or what a lot of people like to do if you want the challenge is not turn on the power, don't reunite yourselves, and see who is the last player alive. But getting back to the beginning, considering that Verruckt was the second ever zombies map, coming after Nectar and Toten, realising how simple that map was, even though compared to today's standards, Verruckt's features is nothing, going from Nact, which was the bare bones of zombies, to Verruckt, which introduced us to the perk machines, traps, and the power switch, things that have gone on to be a staple in zombies. To me, it's iconic, and not only do I think Verruckt is the scariest zombies map we've ever had, but it could also be classed as the hardest. It's definitely up there for me with 5 and Nectar and Toten, but you could very easily say Verruckt is the hardest zombies map ever, especially the World at War version where the zombies are extremely aggressive. Unlike in Nectar and Toten, the zombies can actually attack players through barriers which they weren't able to do before, and because of the map's layout, how tight it is, there isn't really any room for training. I find one of the best strategies is to just run around the whole map. Even though we've seen multiple different variations of Verruckt, the World at War version, Black Ops 1, Zombies Chronicles, we're just going to be talking about the original. I've already mentioned it introduced the power switch, Perk-a-Colas, traps. The 4 perks that we had on this map were Juggernog, Quick Revive, Speed Cola, and Double Tap. We did also see Mule Kick, but that was on the Black Ops and Black Ops 3 version. The trap that it included was an electric shock defense, so you would purchase it for 1000 points, and you can guess what happened next. One of my other favourite things about Verruckt, I suppose you could say it was more to do with the game World at War, but that was the weapons. We had guns such as the PPSH, the STG, the MP40. Also, unlike in Nectar and Toten, this was the first time when we saw a mystery box that would actually move and not just stay in one place. So those were all of the gameplay features. Like I said, you have to remember that Verruckt was still the second zombies map we ever had back in 2008/09. It was very early days, but the fact that it introduced iconic things, stuff that we've gone on to see in zombies to this day, like a power switch, perks, it definitely had a massive role to play in what zombies is today. And so, what about its Easter eggs? Again, like the gameplay, because it was very early on, there weren't too many compared to today's standards, but there are a few. The first one, of course, being the musical Easter egg. I recently did a video called the Call of Duty Zombies Awards, and if you watched that, you would know I placed this song, Lullaby of a Dead Man, on Verruckt as the best ever. But also, the way you activate it, simply by flushing the left toilet 3 times, is different to the way we usually activate songs. Normally we have to find 3 different items around a map, such as, I don't know, teddy bears or elemental rocks, but in this case we had to flush the same toilet 3 times and the song would play. There was another Easter egg which was very scary, where in the Juggernog room there is a dentist chair, and if you go up to it, press the action button and you can hear someone drilling as the person, I assume, that would be sitting in the chair is screaming, being tortured. We know that Verruckt previously was a mental asylum, but during World War II became one of Group 935's facilities. So we can only imagine the person sitting in the chair was someone they experimented on or were torturing. And similarly, how the hell do you say that word? If you go to the opposite side, you'll see this area where I believe this is where they store dead bodies. And again, if you go up to it, press the interactive button, you will hear a baby crying. So one can only assume that when Group 935 occupied this building, they locked a baby in here. All just adding to the effect of Verruckt being the scariest zombies map ever. And then obviously, as you would expect, there is writing all over the walls. This room has always been interesting. There are dead body parts hanging from the ceiling. And if you look on the wall, the writing, the drawings, the symbols, the numbers, during the time when this released, you can imagine it puzzled a lot of people's minds, questioning what was really going on here. And that then brings us to the third and final point, which is the storyline. Building upon what Treyarch started in Nectar and Toten, Verruckt's story is also simple, being that, as I mentioned, it was an abandoned asylum that was turned into a facility for Group 935 to work at. Sometime during 1945, a spy named Peter McCain infiltrated Group 935 at Scariest, where he was then transferred to Verruckt, and whilst he was there, Group 935 began to lose control of their experiments. An undead outbreak happened at the facility. Cornelius Purnell, who was Peter McCain's handler, suspected something had gone wrong at the facility and so sent in a Marine recon team to extract Peter McCain, and this consisted of people like Tank Dempsey, along with Smokey, John Banana, and Paxton Gunner Ridge. All 4 of these Marines were sent into Verruckt to rescue Peter, but when they got there, Peter had already left. He'd escaped, leaving the 4 Marines now trapped in Verruckt with the zombies. If you're familiar with the zombie storyline, you will know that Tank Dempsey goes on to survive. He ends up being captured by Group 935. One of the other Marines, who was Paxton Gunner Ridge, manages to escape, and as for the other 2, Smokey and John, they both die. They end up becoming the undead. And that is the fate of our playable characters in this map, and that's also the story. A very simple one. So there we go, that is it. Considering that it was the second zombies map we ever got, to me this is still one of the best we've had. I absolutely love this map, even with its simplicity in terms of layout. It introduced a few things in zombies that stayed, and more importantly, whenever I feel I want to play a scary game, this is the map. So there we go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, hopefully you've enjoyed the video today. What other map do you want to see me do? Make sure you are subscribed, and as always, I will see you in the next video. Until then, goodbye.